Broadcast Workers Union Bemawu says the Labour Court judgment has issued an order compelling SABC to consult in good faith and the broadcaster to pay for the costs of its legal challenge. It says a judgment has been reserved to the 2nd of December. Bemawu is looking to interdict the retrenchments and hopes the court will stop job cuts at the SABC. Hannes Buisson is the Bemawu president. He joins us now. Hannes, a very good evening to you and thank you so much for speaking to us. So let's just confirm what I've just read out, the proceedings at court today. So you're confirming that the court has not only ordered the SABC to negotiate in good faith, and we'll discuss what that means in just a moment, but to also carry your costs. Is that correct?
Okay, so maybe if we could just get the terminology correct. It's not negotiate, it is a consultation process. So we want the SABC to consult in good faith. That's the one demand. Now, after we filed the application in the interdict, we re-enrolled it. The SABC did issue that notice. The second issue is the one that of the dismissal letters and the redundancy letters that we want to be withdrawn, and that is what the SABC has refused to do. And of course, what normally happens in these kind of issues is that we request cost, particularly for the conduct of the SABC in these proceedings, where they in the first round gave an undertaking that they will properly consult, and the employees were then 2 days later served with dismissal letters, and also for their conduct in defending this matter by they could simply just withdrawn the letters, the dismissal letters.
So what are you saying with regards to that? Judgment has been reserved until the 2nd of December, but has the court made a decision on that cost issue?
No,
okay.
No, it'll all come on the 2nd of December, yes.
All right, that's fine. So I want to talk about the difference, as you say, the distinction between consult and negotiate. You say you've come across a letter from the SABC asking its GE of News to give her input to the new structure by no later than the 1st of December 2020. Tell me what this means to you in light of the action that you're taking and the process that's about to unfold.
Right. So when we met with the SABC previously, we said that we will meet with them again today after the court case. We obviously hoped that we would have had a ruling by the court today, and we could then discuss the ruling and then the way forward. So unfortunately, the court reserved judgment until the 2nd. When we entered into today's meeting, the SABC committed itself to proper and due consultation on the structure, on selection criteria on which they've not consulted, and it is not in dispute that they did not consult on that, as well as severance pay and measures to avoid dismissals. So it was agreed in today's meeting between the parties that we will start next week with that consultation process, and that we will then jointly, that is now unions, staff, management, SABC itself, will attend those sessions. To our surprise, we got an email from a member who has been directed by the GE of News to make submissions on her or their proposals in terms of the new structure, and that is, again, it is not what the parties have agreed to. Now, unfortunately, we can't run to court about that particular issue. We did write to the SABC. We asked them to explain that action of them, but we are gravely concerned about the fact that hours before we have reached an agreement on how that process will unfold, and then the SABC seems to have reneged on that.
All right, we're going to have to end it there, Hannes, because we have run out of time. But thank you very much, Bemawu President Hannes Buisson. And we speak now to SABC COO Ian Plaatjies for more on this. Mr. Plaatjies, you've just heard the tail end of that, I assume. Bemawu saying that one of their members received an email as of the instruction of the GE, asking them for input on the new structure before the 1st of December. Bemawu is saying that is disingenuous if you're saying you're consulting them, because it seems like you're running a parallel process. What is your response to that?
Good evening to Buisson and to our audience as well. No, definitely not. Once again, Bemawu is misleading the public and their audiences and their members. What we have said is Bemawu has neglected their responsibility to represent their members adequately in the negotiation process. And what we are doing this time around to ensure that their members and certainly all of the employees within the organization is not unfairly treated by the lack of consultation from their side or willingness to participate in this fairly. We are opening the process to any employee that wants to make representation to us. So yes, the unions will be involved in this process as well, but we are allowing individual employees to find representatives within their functional areas to also participate in this process.
But is that not contrary to the agreement, though, that you as management, the labour unions and employees will jointly, the operative term here being jointly, sit down and hammer things out on the new structure? Because I then ask myself, what is the point of consultation? Especially if the SABC management is very adamant that you are not going to withdraw any retrenchment letters. There's not going to be any reversal of this process. What is the point of all of this?
The point is, last time when we met with the news department, for example, they said that they were not consulted on the structures. That is obviously from the union's perspective, because we were prevented from consulting directly with them and we had to go via the unions. They then said, why don't management speak directly to us? This time around, we're making sure that the unions are involved and all other participating parties, but we will ensure that the employees are involved as well, because the unions have neglected their responsibility towards them.
And perhaps this is where the salient differences are, and it's very important to understand, because your understanding of what consultation is and the union's understanding of consultation and perhaps the layman's understanding of consultation, two parties actually sitting together and hammering out their differences. So do you not then think that it appears a cosmetic exercise?
Not at all. So if you look at the consultation process within the 189 process, and half of that 16 sessions were facilitated by the CCMA, management did not dictate what that agenda should be. It was mutually agreed, and we wanted to get to the point of alternatives. The unions have used basically delaying tactics during those sessions. We gave them the structures months ago. Months later, they only started engaging us on that. We are not going to allow them to hijack the process again, and we will include all the employees. Okay. And we have given them that undertaking last week.
We have run out of time, Mr. Plaatjies, but I do need to ask you this. You say the unions had a very long time to consider the structure. You and I have had this conversation that they've accused you several times of changing the structure without informing them, of not being transparent. They say the court has asked you to negotiate in good faith. To your mind, given what you're doing now and what you're saying to me now, negotiating in good faith, what does it mean? That you continue as you've begun, or do you think that there is room for change? From your point of view, what you're doing?
Yeah. We have always negotiated in good faith, and yes, the room for improvement at this time round is the unions still have their rights and they'll be participating in this process, but we are allowing the employees to come in and participate as well. And we're not going to rely on the unions to mislead the public again and their members. So their members can actually be involved in the individual capacity, but they will be represented by their unions as well.
All right, thank you so much for speaking to us. That's the SABC COO, Plaatjies. Now coming up, former Mayor of Johannesburg, Herman Mashaba, tells us